Hey, it's Curt and Preeti from MyaForLife.com, and we are talking about school avoidance. That is the phenomenon that I'm sure many of you are frustrated over, being that it is September, of kids who don't want to go to school. Curt, that never happens in your household. Kids being sick, wanting to stay homesick from school, possibly not being all that sick. How do you deal with that as unlovable dad?
So we definitely are at the part of the year, like you said, where the seasons are changing. All the kids are back, at least for a couple weeks, if not 5 or 6, if you live down south. And you're getting your first bugs, germs, COVID strains, flus, whatever we're going to call it. And so now comes the I want to stay home today. I'm sick. And there's two different things you need to look at going on. Is there a sickness going around? And are you aware that the school has 200 other kids out and there is a viral situation, no pun intended? Or is there something else going on? Is there an avoidance because of school? They don't want to go for a different reason. Could be bullying, could be a big test coming up, could be a lack of confidence, lack of new friends. They don't like the new school year. So that's your first divider. Are they sick? Is there an actual physical problem, or is there something else going on? And with the season change, getting colder, you're going to have regular allergies and colds and flus, as well as passing it between different groups of kids. So first and foremost, use the thermometer, talk to your son or daughter, see if they're sick, do your best judgment as a parent. And if you think they're not too bad, but they still don't want to go to school, start asking questions on why.
Right. And I liked what you said about sort of setting some criteria. Like, what is the criteria for a child being sick? Harvard Medical School says that it is 4 things. It is a temperature, it is vomiting, it is difficulty breathing, and I forget what the fourth one is.
But and you said it's are they sick? And of course, depending on your generation and how your parents raised you, there's certainly an element of suck it up. Especially on the boys' side, you're a man. This is what we do. You put your work boots on and you go. But is saying I don't want to go to school today also a chance for a mental health break, which we're not allowed to talk about, especially for boys? I need a mental health day. Now, it is in the workplace. Gen Z and millennials have really introduced that, where you can take mental health days now at companies, but that hasn't made it down to the school, where you want to call your school in the morning and say, hi, I'm calling in, and so just like a mental health day today. We're going to hang out. So there's no reason adults should have that option. And you don't think kids are under the same mental pressures and changes and stresses. So be aware that if your son or daughter is kind of maybe faking it or half sick, but asked to take a day off, think about their mental health. How's it going right now? Are they going through a tough stretch? A lot of tests. Are there social situations going on in sports where they just need a day to collect themselves, just like adults do?
Right. And, Gen Z and millennials are getting a lot of flack for that as well. And the fact is, we as adults don't do this. We don't take our sick days. We don't take our vacation time. Working culture and American culture is working 24/7. It is not taking breaks. It is looked down upon if you take time off from work, if you take time to be with your family. We still don't have paid family leave. I mean, this is a cultural phenomenon. So it makes sense that kids not having the agency, not be, or even the language. And as you said, there are some great barriers to it. With boys are often told to suck it up and to not have feelings, to not express emotions, to not say when they're stressed. And also children don't necessarily have the language to express that they aren't feeling well. I know that I was an anxious child. I also struggled with depression, and I had no idea what that was. And neither did my parents. I think it's we don't always know what those warning signs are, but I have a stomach ache. I'm too sick to go to school. These are often warning signs of other issues, and they can be bullying, as you said. It can also be mental health issues, anxiety being, I think, a really big one. But also, is there a neurodivergence that's undiagnosed? Because if your kid is also struggling in school and they're now feigning illness, or they have a stomach ache and they're not feeling, it might be embarrassment, shame, not being able to articulate that they're not doing okay. So the key here is communication, knowing your child. I mean, you know your child better than anybody does, but learning to talk to your child and learning to elicit information about how they're really feeling and to get down to a root cause is something that I think parents need to give themselves permission to do. And it's hard to do that on a Monday morning when your kid says, I don't feel good, I don't want to go to school. And your first reaction is, well, what am I going to do? Like, I can't take the day off to stay home with you. There isn't always that option for parents as well, right? Because once again, American culture, working culture is we do not take time off. We don't take time off to spend with our families. We don't take time off to go on vacation. We're not Europe where we take all of August off and enjoy the holiday season. Like these are difficult things that are pervasive throughout the
Yeah,
country.
as one of our vice presidential candidates said, that to solve child daycare issues, call grandma and grandpa and uncle a few more times. And a lot of people can't do that. And it's if you're lucky, if you can, and you can just on a drop of a dime say, "Hey, so and so sick, I got to run to work," and they come right over. But for a lot of America, and that's just not a action plan that you can rely on. And you're right, with neurodivergent things like ADD, ADHD, very diagnosed and talked about in schools now. Certainly, if you feel your child is super hyper, or on the other side, kind of a little bit lethargic and still not getting it, you can talk to teachers and counselors at school for those tests and those diagnoses. So kind of like dig in and see what's going on with your child at school, to where they may on a 50-50 call want to not go in. And I get nobody wants to go to school. It's kind of like work. You definitely want to stay home and watch movies and play video games, but how much effort are they putting into really, trying to get there? And again, your own demons come up and your own mom and dad issues, as far as you suck it up and go to school unless you're throwing up or have a fever, put on your big boy pants, and all that stuff comes up. So it's you and your parents. And again, here comes the generational trauma of you had a son or daughter who really was sick or needed a mental health day, and you kind of told them to suck it up and get dressed and go to school.
Right.
Talking to your kids is the first step, and understanding where they're at, not only physically, but mentally, is a good place to kind of start your baseline monitoring.
And on the neurodivergence piece, this is where girls often fall through the cracks, because our ADD and our ADHD, we don't present as hyper on the outside. We are able to sit still in school. And I'm saying we because I was diagnosed as an adult with ADD. The hyperactivity for girls with these issues is often hyperactivity on the inside, the brain not being able to stop, getting on an endless loop, having a little bit of having some OCD tendencies, not being able to organize your thoughts. I was a terrible note taker, and I've had a lot of shame around this. I wasn't totally sure what was wrong with me, but I could not compute what the teacher was saying in enough time to write it down in a way that made any sense when you read it back. So my notebooks were filled with doodles and drawings and, giving up. But it caused a lot of anxiety and it caused a lot of stress. And oftentimes I didn't want to go to school. And kids get really good at finding what seemed to be legitimate excuses to not go to schools.
And that does happen. I don't know if any adults have done this, because I haven't written anything in so long. I had to write out a school note the other day. I think it was for an orthodontist or something. I literally had to handwrite it, and I almost couldn't. I thought I had a stroke or Alzheimer's. I'm trying to write with a pen, and I almost forgot, because forget handwriting. I print, and I was still printing like it looked like a 5-year-old was trying. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I probably haven't written anything on a piece of paper in 15 years, but you just lose the connections and the synapses. And you look at your handwriting, I'm like, I look like a caveman right now. That's like a 5-year-old trying to print. No wonder the teacher doesn't believe some parent wrote it. So yeah, you got to work on your writing, your cursive, and your handwriting as you get older too, because we don't print anymore. There's even a movement of not teaching kids handwriting anymore. It's just kind of a skill that's gone by the wayside. So we'll see.
I found out a few years into my relationship with him that my stepson couldn't read cursive, because I would just write cursive. It was something that I learned in school, and that I actually have nice handwriting. So when I write a card to somebody, I write in nice scripty letters, and I take my time, and I haven't done it in a while. To your point, I've not done it in a while, so who knows if I'm actually capable of this. But it took 3 or 4 years for him to say, I can't read what your cards say.
He looks at your card like it's Shakespeare or your calligraphy. Like, handwriting's going the way of calligraphy. Like, hey, I appreciate it, but I don't know what this ancient text you're using is. Like, that's just cursive handwriting. So, okay, got it.
Yeah. But so if there is an issue, and we've really thought that like some of this had changed in our culture during COVID, right? We were home. We took pleasure in being home. It was a really difficult time. And there was a lot of tragedy that happened out in the world, and people were very worried and very anxious. And, people lost a lot of family. But one of the opportunities in COVID was for us to really come together and spend time at home and spend time with our families. And I think for a lot of people, there was a little bit of a reset where we said, wait a minute, there's a complete imbalance in our country. And I was sort of optimistic that when we went back to work, that there would be more work from home opportunities. And we've seemed to have fallen into old patterns and old ways. And of course, this trickles down to our kids because they see how we work 24/7, and that's probably really daunting to them. I think if we modeled for them that it's important to take care of ourselves, it's important to take care of our health, it's important to take care of our mental health, our kids would have a head start in all of that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what Maya's great for, is working with the teens we do talk to about creating the life they want and how to do it, giving them the steps and the kind of the processes to think about, and that it doesn't have to be 24/7 work, chaos, papers in the air, nonstop, no time for yourself or mental health or taking a day. And kids are going off into high school and college knowing, hey, I need a day. I need to take some time right now. That's what my body or my mind's telling me. So it starts with one, and then it just gets to the
That's right.
next and the next person, and you can change a generation very slowly.
Well, and I think the other slippery slope of this work hard is the other side of that coin is play hard. And what that often means is acting out. It means drugs, it means alcohol, it means doing things to excess. And so when we are not leading these balanced lives, when we are working 24/7, the result of that is often backlash. And if we were able to find more balance in our lives, our playtime would be balanced as well. And we may not turn to maladaptive coping mechanisms like food, alcohol, sex, drugs, shopping, all of these things that can turn into problems.
Yeah, I agree. And again, as if we can change the kids first, they'll break those patterns and what they see in some maybe not the best role modeling, or parents are doing the best they can, as we say, to survive, but they're going to realize there's also mental health survival and their own survival as far as happiness, as opposed to just, how much money came in the door this week and how much money went out. So that's what we try to work on at Maya.
That sounds great. So, how can people learn more about Maya and help their kids through these issues, Curt?
You can go to Maya for Life. That's Maya, the number 4life.com. Check out all our educational videos. Get in touch with us. Interview us. Ask us your questions. Find out if we're right for your teen and tell us what's going on. And we'll tell you if we feel we're a good fit to work with your teen or tween or anybody in college. And it's free. And it's a great to just spread information that's helping people.
That's right. And send in your questions at mayaforlife.com because we will answer them on these videos. All right, Curt, thanks so much for joining me.
You're welcome.